want this, you're going to see that this page pops up in your notebooks. A little bit later, there's going to be a little video to explain what's on here. All I need you to do is put your listening ears on for like 5 minutes for this. So I talked to you, well, I don't know if I actually told you this a few days ago or not, but one of the things about mean, median, mode, not range, we're not dealing with range today for classwork, but one of the things about mean, median, and mode is that people can use it to be really shady, okay? Not outright lying, but just kind of misleading you a little bit, because mean, median, and mode are all a type of average. They all technically can be used to describe a set of data. And people can use that idea to give you an impression that's not necessarily true about a situation. Okay, case in point. This is an example. I actually pulled this from an actual news story that there's a small town. I don't know if we heard about income inequality. Have you heard anything about that in the news? So it's a concept right now where as America has progressed throughout the years, there are more and more and more and more people that are super duper 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 rich. Jeff Bezos being able to shoot off your own rocket. I'm looking at you. While there are also people that are more and more and more and more poor. It used to be in America that a lot of people were all just, most people were kind of in the middle. But what's happened over the years is that you've got a lot of people that are ridiculously rich, no way they could ever spend all that money, and people that are below the poverty line, and there's fewer people in between. And that is called income inequality. Now, I'm not here for a political discussion today because some people would argue that there are specific reasons that that's a really bad thing, and that there are various reasons that our politicians need to get off their butts and make some changes so that we don't have such a big divide, because it's not necessarily healthy to have some people super duper duper rich where you've got a lot of other people that are kind of poor, because that, is just a recipe for conflict. But it's a fact, that's just kind of how it is. So one of the things that's come out of that is that a lot of cities and states are now considering raising the minimum wage. Do we know what minimum wage is? The least amount of money you can get paid for a job. Because minimum wage, products and services have gotten more expensive over the years, but the minimum wage has not gotten higher at the same rate that prices have gone up. So that means that when you were poor a number of years ago, you could still buy more stuff, honestly, than a poor person can now, because stuff is more expensive, but you still haven't, the income hasn't kept up. Now, a lot of business people and politicians don't want to raise the minimum wage because they say that would be too expensive, especially for small businesses. And this is actually an example that I found in a newspaper. This is a really teeny, teeny, tiny town where most people actually go to work in the next town. And they were talking about raising the minimum wage in the town where most of these people live. And somebody wrote an opinion piece in the paper and said, hey, it's really not even that bad in this town. The average family income is $52,000 a year. That's not even that bad. The average. So take a look. These are actually the incomes from that town. So again, he said the average is $52,000. So this is what he said. The average was $52,000. You see a lot of people on that list that are making around $52,000. How much are most of the people on that list making? 20, 30, a few are lucky to get 40, a couple of 50s in there. Is the person who wrote that article just lying when they say the average is $52,000? Probably, without even doing the math. Looking at it, what is it in there that's making that average be $52,000? That one, this is probably the person that actually owns, the one rich guy in town. Yeah, exactly. That's probably the one person in town. So what's he doing to that? Is this the mean, the median, or the mode? Which one is it where you take everybody's salary into consideration and divide it all out? It's the mean. Frequently, when you have a number that is so big or so little that it doesn't really fit in with everybody else, who's going to be a rock star and remember what the name for that word is? What's that word that doesn't fit in with all the other words? Outlier. Yes. Ah, thank you, Queen. Yes. That outlier. Okay, that's that one person that probably looks down on everybody else is making that mean go up a lot. So when you have an outlier that doesn't fit in with everything else, a lot of the time you don't want to use the mean because it doesn't really, I mean, that person's technically not lying, but they're not really giving you an accurate picture. Most people in that town aren't making anywhere close to $52,000. So I'm just here to say that when somebody says average, you need to have the knowledge to know that they might be talking about something that's not the average. Well, they might be talking, like, which average are they talking about? So what they really should be using in this case is either like the mode, because, you know, like, because what's the mode? What do the majority of people in this town make? Yeah, so there's like 4 sets of 20,000, right? I'm going to put that in a different color. So there's 4 sets of 20,000, and then there's also 4 families that make 30,000. So the mode, there's 2 modes in this case. So that might be kind of a good way to indicate how much people really make. Or I would actually be fine if you did the median also. If you just look to see who's the person in the middle and how much money does that person in the middle make, that would be okay too, okay? So just be aware that there's a lot of shady people out there in this world right now. And people can use math to be a little bit misleading and disingenuous. He's not lying when he wrote that article. The average is 52,000, but that average was the mean. So whenever you have an outlier that jacks up the mean, you don't necessarily want to use the mean. You might want to use the median or the mode instead. Very similarly, this actually came from a real life example of a friend of mine who interviewed for a job. I don't know, again, if you guys have seen the news right now, employers are having kind of a hard time finding people to work there. Again, I'm not here to have a political debate. People say it for various reasons. Some people say it's because you get paid a lot for unemployment. Some people say, you know what, during COVID, a lot of people just decided, I'm going to do a job that's actually going to make me happy. And people are quitting their jobs to go find stuff, you know, other things, which I kind of think is a good thing, honestly, that people are finally doing jobs that they enjoy. But it's hard for employers, especially like low-paid work at factories. It's hard for them to get people right now. So somebody I know actually went and talked to the owner, and the owner literally told him, so you start at $20,000, so that's low, but don't worry, the average person here makes nearly 63. But then it turns out, dun, 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 it's exactly the same case. So look, they've got 100 people at the factory that make 20. They've got another 20 people that are supervisors who make 30,000. They've got 2 people who make 60,000, and then they got that one owner who makes 5 million. So again, where did that average person's salary come from? It came from the mean. It came from them not being a little bit shady, because ain't nobody in that list hardly making $63,000 a year, okay? But because you have that outlier, that is there, and it's messing up the data. So the big idea I want to make sure you guys get out of this is, and you don't need to write this is actually going to appear on your notes, like when you have an outlier, don't use the mean, okay? And if somebody else says the word average, you better make sure you know what average they're talking about, because they could be trying to be a little bit shady. Those are the 2 big ideas I want you to get out of that topic. So now